pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If we could just remain standing for a moment, Pastor Bossio will give our invocation this evening.
Well, I guess I got to buy one of these now, huh? Fellow Allen Parkers, let's pray. Lord, thank you so much for an opportunity to be here. And Lord, to work on the things that you've entrusted in our hands, not just this council, but all of the citizens of this city. Bless them. Strengthen us for the road ahead. And Lord, may you guide our every action. We pray. Amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Deputy Clerk, take the roll, please.
Councilman Templin.
Present.
Councilman Cisco.
Present.
Councilman DiGiulio.
Here.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Present.
Councilman Rourke.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod.
Here.
Mayor Matakis.
Present.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Have a motion for approval of tonight's agenda, March 15th, please.
Motion.
Moved by Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman Rourke. Is there any corrections, changes, additions, deletions?
I'd like to separate the claims and accounts there, Mayor.
Without exception, we will remove claims and accounts from the consent agenda and take it as a separate item. Is there anything else? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Could I have a motion for approval of the minutes for February 23rd, please?
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod, supported by Councilman Templin. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. There are no awards, presentations, or proclamations tonight. There is a public hearing that will be held at the end of our agenda. And before we go to the organizational business, we did pull an item off the agenda so that the council could have a work session on it. And I would ask approval by the council for a work session for Thursday at 4:30 for the purposes of reviewing the bids on the garbage contract.
Motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion by Councilman DiGiulio, supported by, really on those, it's a call of the chair, but we'll take the motion.
Who's support?
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Carried. Thank you. Go to the organizational business by our city administrator, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council, residents. As I mentioned at the last council meeting, the city was awarded $270,000 for a emergency generator through the Distressed Cities Grant from the state of Michigan. Subsequent to that meeting, the administration has determined that the HVAC system at the fire station is actually a more pressing issue at this time, a more pressing need at this time than the generator. So we've contacted the state to see if it's possible to move that funding to the HVAC system. When we put the bids together, when we put the grant application together, that was one of the listed items. We had 4 listed items. It was still a high priority, but since that grant was submitted back in October as well, that system has pretty much died on us, and it's now a real pressing need to replace. Not that the generator is not that important, it is still important, but as we go forth, we'll need to make sure that we include that into any new municipal complex or police station that we build. We'll need to make sure we have an emergency generator for that facility at that time. Very, very happy to report that the Allen Park Hockey Association will be coming home to the Allen Park Civic Arena for the 2016-17 season. A very big thank you to Parks and Rec Director Pat Hawkins and Allen Park High School hockey coach John Brithney, among others. They were very influential in getting this contract together and getting everything set to getting this goal accomplished, of getting the Hockey Association back home after 1 year hiatus at the neighboring community ice arena. So I don't know about you guys, but nothing irks me more than to see a friend tag themselves or upload themselves at an event and tag themselves in a neighboring community's event and title it Allen Park Hockey Association. So very appreciative of that goal getting done. The DPS through Liquiforce, they finished the sewer lining sections that were part of the SAW grant investigation. So that portion of the project is now complete. I think that was the emergency repairs totaled a little over $400,000 in repairs to the sewer lines in various areas of the city. The concrete street sectioning work is out to bid. Those bids are due back on Tuesday, March 29th, and with a tentative award date for the April 12th council meeting. This work was previously done by Gaglio, and it is now back out to bid. So that is I think our fourth concrete project that we'll have. And we got a couple on the agenda tonight, and we'll have that one back for the April 12th council meeting. The water department is using what they call a lockbox for the water bills. Residents may have noticed if they're paying their water bills via check and send them in through the postal mail, may have noticed that they're now going to an address at a post office box in Detroit. What happens in that is the post office box, Comerica actually collects those payments, and then they apply those directly to our water department bank accounts. I think for the first month that in operation, I think that was the month of February, we were about 16% of our collections came through that process. So again, you can still pay your bills in the drop box, come into City Hall and visit us, or if you do mail them in, they're gonna go through the lockbox and just be processed that way. It's a very similar process to, I think, a lot of credit cards and that are using that same type of process now.
And online too.
And online, they can still pay online as well. There is a fee for that though. The 2016-17 budget is nearly complete, and at the next week's council meeting, which is next Tuesday, the 22nd, we'll be asking to schedule a work session for April 19th to discuss the budget with the mayor and council. And with the presentation of the MML compensation study and the Whitehall Group city overview, operational overview at the March 1st council work session, I'd like to see if it's possible, somewhere in the agenda, we can do a receive and place on file for those reports, and then we'll be able to post them up to the city website. And I had one more for the meeting on Thursday. That's at 4:30. We've already done that. And this one's a pretty interesting one as well. County days at the DIA. There will be a Saturday, April 16th. This is a free day, free bus transportation as well. I think we did this back in the fall time, if I'm not mistaken. I think they scheduled something for a Saturday. The pickup location is at our Civic Community Center, April 16th at 10 o'clock. It is a free day through the DIA. I have a posting out in the hallway as well, and we'll get this. I know it's on Facebook, and I'm not too sure if we got it up on the website yet, but if it's not, it will be sometime tomorrow to be able to go down to the DIA for free and with free transportation as well. One final, I'd like to congratulate the Allen Park Hockey. They did pretty well. They made it through a couple rounds of the state playoffs. Unfortunately, they came into a tough Country Day team and took a loss there. But John Brittany has turned that program around. It's an outstanding season they've had this year, and I think he should be congratulated on helping to turn Allen Park Hockey back around at the high school level. And then also, we had some good return of the Cabrini High School hockey team as well. So now we got the Hockey Association coming back home. This was a mecca at one time for hockey, and I hope to see it return to that level once again. So that is all I have this evening.
Thank you. I'd like a motion to accept and file the updates, reports, and document submissions, as well as include the MML report and Whitehall reports that the mayor and council received at the work session of March 1st, I believe it was.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Gawarecki. Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Councilman Templin. Is there any discussion?
Is this going to, Mr. Mayor, we have a resolution here for MML compensation study and recommendations. Is that what we're doing? Is it taking the place of that at this
No,
point?
it's just to have those reports, when these are accepted as reports and submissions, they'll go up on our webpage and be available to the public.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. We're at the public comment section. I'd like to go through our rules of decorum, please. An individual may only speak on an issue after the individual has been recognized by the chairperson. Comments from the floor shall be made at the podium at the front of the council table or at such other area as designated by the chairperson. Prior to an individual speaking from the floor, the individual shall identify themselves and state their address, which is their street, for the record. The individual shall also identify if they're representing any group or organization. All comments shall be directed only to the chairperson. Speakers are not to address other members of the council or members of the audience. Each member of the public may speak for up to 4 minutes. All written statements should be given to the city clerk prior to the meeting so that copies may be made available to members of the public body. No individual shall be allowed to make any defamatory attack or invasion of another individual's personal life. There shall be no questions, comments, discussions, or attacks regarding anybody's personal life. Chairperson shall immediately rule out of order any person who begins to bring up such issues. If the chairperson does not do so, any member of the council may, by calling for a point of order, request the chairperson to rule the offending party out of order. If the chairperson does not so rule the offending party out of order, council member may call for an appeal of the decision of the chair. If the chairperson's decision is overturned, the offending person is deemed out of order. The person making the comments is allowed to continue. The person who is being challenged or whom the comments are made against shall be entitled to make an immediate rebuttal statement. For the purposes of these rules, as they relate to elected officials or city officials, the terms personal life shall refer to anything other than that which is said or done in the person's official capacity as an elected official or in the person's official city capacity. Members of the public may question the speakers, but the members of the public body are not obligated to answer any questions or make any statements on the issues raised or discussed by the speaker. Issues may be referred to the appropriate body, department, or individual for investigation and review. No person or group shall be allowed to disrupt the meetings or proceedings. Any individual who fails to comply with these rules, after having first been warned by the chairperson to cease such actions, shall be ordered by the chairperson to leave and/or be ejected from the meeting. Thank you. Citizens, if you'll come forward at this time with your comments.
Good evening. My name is Nancy Simmons, and I live on Keppen in Allen Park. I just had a question about, it's nothing on the agenda, but the property that is the north, I think it's the northeast corner of Laramie and Keppen, which is where I live. There's a vacant lot there, and it's right along the creek. If you were coming off of Southfield and was coming down Keppen, it would be on the left side, just past Laramie. And who owns that property? Because there's no houses or anything on it, it's vacant.
It goes right against the Ecorse Creek, does it not?
Yes.
The corner lot?
Is it the city? Is it city property?
Wayne County owns it.
Wayne County owns that, the city administrator indicated.
Okay, there's just massive, huge trees that are down, but they're not in the creek. And Wayne County has made it clear that they will not touch them if they are not in the creek. And it's in the water. It has to be in the water. And, but these are on the land there, and it's a lot that goes down that whole section there. And so Wayne County's not gonna remove them. And it looks horrible. So do we have to call county or?
Let us, let us check with our commissioner and see what they can do for us.
Okay. And the last thing that I want to say is that what a great election. Much larger turnout than what was expected. And I worked in the elections, and I just want to thank our city clerk folks that were on the team there that set up for us, and wow, they were great.
Good.
Somebody was there all the time when we had a couple of issues in our precinct with tabulator not working and stuff
You
like
weren't the
that.
only ones.
Somebody was there right away, and so it was an exciting day.
Yep.
It was.
Thank you,
So,
Nancy.
Yeah.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, and fellow citizens. My name is Kurt Mazag, a Becker Avenue resident. I represent the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund. In March of 2014, under the auspices of the city's emergency financial manager, a half-day work session was held involving Allen Park citizens, business representatives, and city officials to gain feedback on what they would like our city to look like in 1 to 5 years. The feedback was used by citizen work groups to create a visioning plan, which was approved by the City Council on July 29, 2014. It and the raw data can be found on the city's website. Understanding that the city simply does not have the financial or physical resources to implement the entire plan, a group of citizens continued to meet. As an outgrowth of these meetings, the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund, of which I am president, formed. In November 2015, the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund was incorporated by the state of Michigan. In December 2015, they received 501c3 nonprofit status, becoming a tax-exempt charitable organization. This status will allow us to leverage more resources. The Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund will soon begin contacting groups, businesses, and residents. We will explain individually who we are and how we can work together to create and expand civic events, programs, and activities. I am here today to ensure you are aware of who we are and what our intent is. Quite simply, the Allen Park Citizens Civic Fund is a 501c3 organization created by a group of Allen Park citizens to provide support to new and existing community organizations and to address unmet community needs. We would appreciate the opportunity to present our full briefing to the council at a later date and hopefully become a partner in moving Allen Park forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Rima Gusson Quant, citizen of Allen Park. Got a couple questions. When you get to, since the Historical Commission is here, maybe you can ask them some questions, or you're going to allow them to ask you questions about what you're planning to do with under other business. Okay? Maybe at that time, maybe that you can either have a little dialogue on what's happening there. The next thing I'd like to go through, Mr. Mayor, is through the chair, Mr. Mark Kibbe, if there's a possibility of you letting us know approximately how much money will be being used for concrete this year for roads, a total, okay? The next thing I gotta ask is this. The rules of decorum is for us, and the rules of decorum are for every one of you. Elected officials and appointed officials. When we, the citizens of Allen Park, come up here with a question, we deserve the respect as you all deserve the respect. When we come up here and ask you questions, all we're trying to do is get information to put away in the windows or whatever is happening out there. So when Mr. Hayes came up here at the last meeting and asked a couple questions, I firmly believe that the way he was treated was with disrespect. All he did was ask you a question of if something was happening within a city when a lot of us knew something was happening. It was not asked, no names were given, nothing was really said. All it was asked was the situation being taken care of? And I firmly believe that when a situation like that happens, it shouldn't be done with internal people. Maybe sometimes you should bring outside people. We got enough of lawsuits already that are happening and are happening right now. And I firmly believe that all my elected officials up here have the right to sit there and say if the person is out of order. So all I'm asking is the rules of decorum are followed by all of us. Thank you. Have a great day.
As long as, my name is Dennis Hayes. I live at 9965 Manor Avenue. Have so for over 30 years. As long as Ray brought up the issue of the rules of decorum, may I offer an opinion that I've put in writing, I've talked about ad nauseum over the last many years. Do we really feel it necessary to chaunter on reading these unenforceable rules every meeting? I mean, I remember when the prior administration had them posted and said the rules are there, you know what they are. You always can point out that somebody's in violation of the rules, but to read them every night, I know I've had countless dozens of people tell me, why does the mayor insist on reading those things that make no sense anyway? But that's just one point. Secondly, I want to say that if I elicited a reaction from our council, I think it was only because he was looking out for the best interests of his client. I don't think I said anything that was untoward necessarily, but as a legal advisor to the city, he has an obligation to protect the city's interests. I do believe that the kind of situation that we've basically admitted to here is a serious one, and I hope that the city is taking some steps to change the culture in the city that would permit that kind of behavior to even surface. Thirdly, this gentleman here who rose the question of the civic group, I'm happy to hear that because, as you know, we've heard over time that the vision plan had ended, it had started, it was in place, it was ongoing. Nobody knew what it was going on. I'm happy to know something's going on. I don't know how that happened out there somewhere of its own germination, I guess. But some of these civic-minded citizens got together and did the right thing and established a 501c3, which is critical to raising some money and getting some matching funds in many cases. So I'm happy with that. It's just that I don't understand why we as a city can never know exactly what's going on. I don't know if it's we want to hide the ball or we don't want people to know or it's only this special group that does it or whatever. I never heard anything about this. Of course, they probably wouldn't want my participation anyway, which is fine, but it would be nice to know about and say, here's what we're doing, but you're not welcome, would be fine too. And then the last thing I want to say is, have we fixed these cameras in here? I understand the fiber optic thing may not be fixed, but have we fixed the cameras? Because last couple times I've been here, we haven't even had it on YouTube, and it conjures up in the minds of the conspiracists out there that they don't want it shown because of the topical materials that are at the meetings. It's easy to have, oh, the camera broke. It just so happened that a controversial matter was being discussed. I hope that there's nothing too controversial for us to share with our public, because that's our duty to keep the public fully informed at all times. And I'd like an answer at the end of my comment, Mr. Kibbe. Thank you, through the chair.
At this point in time, we're still waiting for Comcast to run with the fiber, which we're not too sure why it's taking so long. It's absolutely ridiculous it's taking this long. At this point in time, we still have one camera that's broken. It is the one directly behind us.
Right there.
Everything else is being video recorded, and I think there was a snafu with the recording last time.
Well, actually, what happened was when that one hung up, it wouldn't allow me to record until I reset the system, and then it allowed those two to come back on. So there was no conspiracy. It broke.
And Mayor, just a point of information, you know, this equipment that we're talking about is over 10 years old. This is electronic equipment, these cameras and everything. I believe they were bought during the Burke administration. Maybe somebody who was here earlier on can inform me of that. But this equipment is old, and as you know, electronic equipment, that when it gets old, breaks down. Anybody have any stuff that's like 10 years old that hasn't broken down? Or do you get every couple of years, get new stuff?
Can we have a point of order?
Yes.
Continue on with citizens' comments, please.
Any other?
All right, Mr. Shorty here. All right, Charles Blown Champagne. First off, as I repeat the last meeting, I still believe that citizens' comments should be 5 or 6 minutes because we only see you guys twice and we have many things to question throughout the whole. I know a lot of people ask me questions and I want to try to get them answers. A an idea, suggestion, since can I agree or disagree? If a TV station, if we pay for that service, I feel like since we haven't seen anything, and for me, it's just a rainbow color, I don't think that citizens should pay for that bill for the past couple months, but that's just my opinion. But good election that we had, 38% voter turnout. Good job again. I'm going to echo what Nancy said, that our city clerk's office and everyone that set up and the volunteers that helped out. And I hope that we can bring forward to a better turnout. Hopefully we can get to half of registered voters can go out in August or in November. It's like every vote does matter. I'm glad to see next to Thunderbolt Lanes that there's no more building. It's empty, it's gone. It looks so much better than what it was. And then speaking of old empty buildings, before this meeting, I again drove by Farmer Jack building, and behind it, there's still garbage back there. And with baseball seasons coming up, and that, I think Quant Park is right back there, just right next to it's garbage. Every year pile up, and then there's now it looks like a pond in that driveway and stuff. I don't know if people use it for that park, but when other cities come to Allen Park and see that for the baseball seasons, it looks bad on us. So if someone can contact whoever owns that building or that lot, or if the city owns it, I'm not sure if they can clean it up or try and make the city beautiful again. Like I said before, when I campaign last year, that's a big thing. I want the city to look great again, beautiful, instead of plant new trees when the old ones are cut and all that stuff. So try to make the city positive. Any updates on the old city hall, if there's going to be a for sale sign in front of it or anything going on with that?
Through the chair, if I may. At the RTAB meeting on last Thursday, March 10th, the RTAB did approve a change, recommending a change of the order to the state treasury. So we're just waiting for that to come through, and once that's done, then we'll be able to move forth with seeking out a realtor broker.
Thank you. And then any updates on like the Enterprise Drive area? I think I heard back in the day that, well, there's a sign that says coming soon thing. I'm not sure if there's anything. It's been there for a year. If anything's up to date with that. And then I'm so glad that we can now save some money for our winter that we had that with salt and all that stuff. So hopefully we can take that money for something else as well. And I think you guys answered, I'm not sure if I heard it right. The millage that passed last year in November, the street millage, is that going to be on with this spring, or is that going to be for the next fiscal year that starts in July? Is that what it's going to start?
That's 4 minutes, but the engineering work's been done for the work to start here as the season comes, and we're letting those concrete and construction contracts, some of them tonight. So work will start here as soon as the weather permits. Right now, the weight loads limits are on the roads, so you can't move concrete or asphalt or anything around the city. So you're stuck in that regard. So
okay, thank you.
that should be off by April 1st, hopefully.
Real quick on the Enterprise Drive, the hotel sites are at, I think they're just finalizing through engineering. They had some issues that were being looked at, and also through Wayne County for any permits on that. The site that they have in the front there, the Village of Allen Park, is just a standard developer trying to draw interest to their site. So we have no say on that. We haven't seen anything come through. I think it's just speculation at this time. to see what else is going on. I think once the hotels are in, I think you'll see a little bit more movement on that point in time. And then for the, I know it's coming up here to award that bid, any construction work has to go back, once we award it here at the Mayor and Council Award tonight, we'll go to the April 6th RTAB meeting for final approval, and then everything is official at that point in time.
Good evening. My name is Tyler Brooks from Laramie Street. Up to date on my taxes. Oh, boy. Okay. Just a quick question to bounce off of the administrator here. For all the concrete that we're going to be doing, all the concrete work that we all dumped money into, how do they manage quality control? And my question is, how do we know we're getting good concrete roads that are going to last? Because I've seen a lot of concrete laid down in the last couple of years, and I don't pretend to know a lot about it, although I'm pretty sure the slabs in front of my house were put there when my house was built. And sure, there's a crack, but it's been there since I've ever seen it, and it's not a real big issue. Meanwhile, they put down concrete on Southfield, and when they redid Southfield here, and there's chunks of that coming apart. And really odd patchwork I've never seen before. Like, what's going on in the concrete world? How do we make sure we get a good job done?
Here's the gentleman that.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, and maybe I can save that because you guys are going to talk about this, right?
Right.
So I guess I'm asking, just bring it up then. I don't want to take up everyone's time. Look forward to hearing it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Walt Jordanek, Bel Air Avenue. I have a question from a coworker of mine. Who is in charge of the dog pound is for the city of Allen Park? If I have a problem with a dog in my yard, who do I call?
The central animal control station out of Southgate.
Okay. Does the ordinance officer have anything to do with that?
No, the combined, it's a combined group with the Allen Park, Southgate, Wyandotte.
Right.
And then that's handled, they have their own officers that handle the animal control.
Okay, so you don't call the city, you call Southgate?
Yeah, there's a number. I'll get the number for you before the end of the evening.
Okay. I bring this up because he asked me who to talk to about a week and a half ago. I said, well, I don't know, but there's a meeting on the 15th.
I think it is on our website too, though, Mr. Danning.
Okay. That was it. Thanks.
I see no one coming forward, so we'll resume the agenda. We have a consent agenda, but we exempted the first item, claims and accounts. So I take a motion for claims and accounts to be approved, please.
Motion, Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio has moved. Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Questions? I'm assuming Mr. DeGiulio is, do you have some questions?
I do. I have one, just one. On page 7, there's 8 or 9 refundable taxes, and it's a home-to-own limited license corporation there. And we refunded about $2,000, and it appears it's to the same person. In taxes, we refunded $2,000.
Correct, if I may, through the chair. Yeah, that is the owner of the, I go back a little bit, step back a couple meetings ago. There was a question regarding the appraisals that were done through the city. We did those appraisals to help be able to defend the city's position on the value of those homes. This is the result. Unfortunately, there was through the tax tribunal, there's never we don't always come out on top. This favored the homeowner in that case, and he did end up getting a bit of a return on those properties. Hopefully, it's a lot less than it would have been had we not had those appraisals. But yeah, that is part of the process through the tax tribunal.
So we paid approximately $2,000 to the appraiser And then we ended up paying $2,000 in overpayments, or
Yeah,
how do you put it?
I'm not too sure what his ultimately request was. He was actually, if I recall hearing the conversation there, he was actually requesting them to be valued at the level that he paid for them from Wayne County, which was a very, very low price, not indicative of the neighborhood that the houses are located within. So he was looking for a difference. The appraisal, the assessments went out with those payments, and then he did appeal that.
Were these foreclosures, is that what they were?
I think he actually acquired those through Wayne County, and they would have probably been a couple years ago through a probably tax foreclosure.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, sir, Mr. Kibbe.
All right. Any other questions by council? Hear none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The rest of the consent agenda, I need a motion to approve payroll report, finance overview for February, budget and actual report, balance sheet for February, cash flow for February, and then license and permits, a parade permit for the APEC for May 7th parade on Champaign, Bottle Can Drive by the Allen Park Tennis Team, May 19th pickup, 2 curbside pickup permits, Busy Bee scrapping and hauling, and Klutz, appropriate name, I guess, for curbside pickup, scrap hauling, and then ice cream vendor permit for Cooley's Ice Cream. Could I have the motion, please?
Motion.
Support.
Councilman Cisco, supported by Councilman Rourke. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Go to the city administrator for resolutions. First item on the MML compensation study and recommendations, because I'm not quite certain what the motion is going to look like.
Okay. And it will actually, it is probably going to change from what is being presented here. Through the MML compensation study, there was a pay structure. The suggested pay structure was reviewed for positions reflected a range of 25%. The midpoint of the pay was established by market findings, which when they did their research. The study did not find any positions with salaries above the recommended pay structure range maximums. However, there were 3 positions that they did find that fell below the recommended pay structure range minimums. The 3 affected positions are currently below those recommended minimums were the administrative assistant, the payroll coordinator, and the Parks and Recreation director. To meet the recommended minimums, the pay range, percentage increases that they suggest would range from 3.92% to 6.67%. I'd like to see that, if possible, if the mayor and council agreed, that we'd make those up over a period of time instead of one-time increase. The process would be easier to also incorporate in the current budget. Since I did this, though, the payroll, or the Parks and Rec director is actually asked to have his section removed. He'd like to go through a review, an appraisal review, which I have no problem with. His was the highest of the range, if you recall back to that study. And so I think he's looking to maybe something different on that part at this point in time. So at this point, I would recommend the mayor and council take the following action to adjust the salaries of the 2 positions that were outlined in the MML compensation study, falling below the recommended minimum pay range effective the next payroll period, and all other non-union department heads would remain the same as they are. Those positions we would look at in the 2016-17 budget. They have some adjustments included in there for the mayor and council to consider at that point in time. So, and the proposed increases for the administrative assistant and payroll coordinator at this time would be 2.5% for each of those positions.
Heard the recommendation of the city administrator. I would just, because they're pay raises, I would just soon take a motion on each one separately. The administrative assistant going from $34,000 to $34,850. Could I have a motion, please?
Motion for purpose of discussion there, Mr. Mayor.
Support.
Support. Councilman Templin. Discussion. Councilman DiGiulio.
Okay. We're going to give them 2.5% this year, correct?
Right.
And then when do they get the other, leading up to the almost 7%? When does that happen? Every year, 2.5 or close to that, or what?
Yeah, hers is actually a little bit less. It's not the full, the 6.67% is actually for the, recommended for the Parks and Rec Director.
But is it over a 3-year period?
Yeah, it would be now, and then come July 1, there's a proposal in the budget for another 2.5%, and then the next year, we'd probably go for another 2.5% at that point in time. That's similar to what the union contracts are. And at that point in time, you'd be within that acceptable range.
And we'll be paying additional Social Security tax on any raise they get, correct?
Correct.
And can you tell me what we paid for this study? How much money we paid the MML to do this study for us?
Yeah, the MML study, I just got the invoice earlier this week. It was actually $9,114. That included the compensation study and the rewrite of a, I think there was 16 or 18 positions for job descriptions.
So we paid $9,000 to be told we're cheap, correct? Or thereabouts?
I can't answer that one.
Okay, I mean, we were low, so obviously we paid $9,000 to find out we're not paying enough. Thank you very much, Mr. Kibbe.
Any other questions? Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
When they were looking at the salary ranges, how many total employees were reviewed to see whether they fell in line with the salary ranges?
I know there was, I think there was, that was the 18.
All right.
Just while he's looking for that, I would just say for people who weren't able to attend that night meeting, because it was kind of a miserable weather that night, the total study showed that most of the employees were below the mean range of salaries for the communities that they thought were representative of Allen Park in terms of their size, populations, revenue sources, and that. And in only one instance did we have an employee that was higher than average for the above the highest paid comparable position.
I mean, through the chair, there were 16 positions that were studied.
And one additional question. I think that as an addendum, we also got material regarding pay ranges for the police and fire departments. And can you just comment how that looked? Because we have had a lot of discussion about where our police and fire are being paid and how their salaries are impacting hiring.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, the MML did a little bit of supplemental information based on the Whitehall Group report, and in that in the Whitehall study, they mentioned additional positions that may be required or suggested that the city should consider. So they ran some numbers on those positions, an HR special, a generalist, deputy finance director, assistant city administrator, and then they also did, because we've had a lot of discussion up at this table regarding the salary ranges, they looked at police officers. It looks like the minimum we fall at the 93% ratio, mid we're at the 94%, and at the max we're at the 95%. So we're close. We're not completely there, but we're not that far off. I think comparable to what we may have thought we were at a given time. It's still a struggle, though, to get some of the new hires in, so we still need to work on that. Now, the numbers that you're going to see, and when we post these up to the website, these are the numbers that we're currently at July 1. When the next round of new hires come in, that'll be a 2.5% increase, as the police department is currently under contract with 3 more years remaining on their 4-year contract. And that did have a 2.5% increase for each of the 4 years total.
Thank you.
There are no other comments or
I have
questions?
a question or two.
Councilman Cisco.
Although I don't have a problem getting some of these positions up to speed, I would like to say this, is even though we had this information and we had a work session, we have, this has been presented to us today to decide on whether anybody gets a raise or not. These, at least two of these individuals out of the three. And my objection to this is we probably should have had a little bit of a work session, even though we had one on the presentation, but we should have had a work session in regards to that after that. And we also have a Human Resources Committee that is not being utilized, that we have in the last administration that we were on. We were utilized for police chief compensation, fire chief compensation, and I think we should have utilized our Human Resources Committee to look at this and make a recommendation, whatever it might be. So I have an objection to doing this today.
So do you want to table it, Harry, so you can send it back to the HR?
I think we should, I think, you know, as we've done things in the past, it's gone to Human Resources, and they've looked at it and made a recommendation. And I think that's what we should do. So I would ask that these, as they come up, since we've taken them individually, that we send this back to the Human Resources Committee quickly and look at this. And, you know, we could, you know, the same recommendation could come out, but I still think it needs to be looked at in that fashion. So I would ask to have it tabled.
Do I have a second?
One more.
Oh, yes, the table.
He has to table it.
I'll second it.
Okay, this is a table
Can we
until
do both together?
Human Resources
Well,
review.
we still have the motion with the Julio and the support.
I know, but if he tables,
Okay.
it's gonna. there will
Are
be
we
no
going
vote.
to do them both then? Because we had
Yes.
separated them. All right.
His is both.
Table both of them.
Till Human Resource Review. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
No.
We'll take a roll call, please.
Okay. Councilman Templin.
No.
Councilman Cisco.
What's a no and a yes?
It's eight for to table it.
Yes.
Councilman DeGiulio.
No.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
No.
Councilman Rorick.
Yes.
And Mayor Pro Tem.
No.
And Mayor Matakis.
Yes.
We have 1, 2, 3. Doesn't pass. Templin, no. Cisco,
The
yes.
table is no, so the motion that stands on the table is moved by DeGiulio, supported by Templin, that the new salary for the administrative assistant be raised to $34,850, effective at the next payroll. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
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 Opposed, same sign.
No.
No.
One nay.
Nay, whatever.
Are you voting also no, Mr. Rourke? Okay, you better take a roll call on this.
Okey-doke. And on this one, let me make sure I've got this as the MML. Okay. Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
No.
Councilman DeGiulio.
No.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Councilman Rorick.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yes.
And Mayor Matakis.
Yes.
The yeses have it. So we have, that one passes,
That's 5-2.
4-3.
4-3.
Okay, let me get this in 052. Okay, now we're going to go to the payroll coordinator.
Need a motion on the payroll coordinator to have their current salary moved from $45,000 to $46,125, effective at the next payroll cycle.
Motion for purpose of discussion there, Mayor.
Moved by Councilman DeGiulio. Do I have support?
Support.
supported by Councilwoman Gawarecki. Discussion?
Yes. Why did we do this study? Who wanted it? Did the council want it? I mean, I wasn't notified of it, but, or did the employees request this, or what? Why did we do a study on pay raises?
It was done last council.
The last council did the study? Who recommended it? Why was it done?
I wasn't on last
Oh.
council, so I'd have to ask for historical.
You'd have to ask me, yeah.
That's right.
Well, you know the mayor said we're just manifestly dysfunctional, so don't ask us anything.
I don't think I said that. but
Talk
let's,
for yourself.
proceed.
That's what the governor said. I'm sorry, it wasn't the mayor, it was the governor. Anyway, getting back to, I just don't see why we're even talking about pay raises. I voted against a pay raise for myself at the end of last year. Of course, it passed. Everybody else wanted a raise, or whoever wanted a raise. I didn't want one. Okay, that was all I had to say. Was I just wondered why we did this study.
Any other, I don't think this was specifically that. It was also to try and define, because over a period of approximately 8 years, the city's gone from 150 employees to 98, about 20 of which are part-time. We don't have proper job descriptions. We don't have proper task descriptions for the people doing those jobs. And it was an attempt to also try to see if we are competitive. We have lost an assessor because of pay. We have lost 3 heads of the DPS. We've lost 2 finance directors. We've lost at our senior positions, and we lost the police chief. So there's been a lot of change, and you have to ask yourself what those reasons are. Unfortunately, the one time when we had, and we lost the human resource director. When we had the human resource director, he never did an exit interview on anybody to know why they left here. So it was an attempt to try and to see where we are, see where we have to be, and see what we need to do to go forward. I think it's an important step to have been done. Mayor Pro Tem?
Yes, I just want to comment, I don't totally disagree with Harry. There is a HR committee, and I do believe that we need to be very active and involved. When I first saw this, I probably had an initial reaction like you did, and then I started to look at the numbers, and as I am wont to do, I did a spreadsheet. And if you take a look at the administrative assistant, if we were talking about bigger numbers, then I'd be very concerned, and I would be right with you. But when all is said and done, you're talking about giving her a $70.83 a month increase. And by the time she pays FICA, Medicare, federal taxes, and state taxes, she's going to get a whopping $52.71 in her take-home pay. And with the payroll coordinator, that comes out to $67.71. Again, if the numbers were bigger, I'd be right there with you. But to say we need to do a work session to probably come up with this small number, I can't go with that. So I just kind of wanted to give an overview on that. Again, we're not talking about any exorbitant amounts here.
Any other comments by council?
Yes, and I appreciate your comments, Mayor Pro Tem. And I just want to say this, I don't disagree with the raise. I disagree with the process of how this has happened. That is what I object to. If we're going to do things right, let's go through the process of doing it like we have done it, that is sort of tried and true. That is my only objections. I don't want to stop anybody from getting X amount of dollars, which is a small amount. And I agree with you. The amount is small. But my objection is to the principle of how this was done. That is my objection.
Can I make a final comment, Mayor?
Certainly.
If you would let me.
Well, wait a minute, let me just see if there's comments by anybody else on council, because you've already been.
Well, I guess my question would be if we're going to go through the same process again, as far as, are you going to ask to table this, or we're just going to go with this discussion it's the same thing.
I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I'm just, for consistency purposes, I mean, the vote's gonna be the vote anyway, but I agree with you, and that's why with this payroll person, I gave Mark a call to find out, when I look at payroll people for the size of this city versus payroll people for where I work and looked at some of the things, hopefully Mark can comment that there's additional duties because of the lack of staff we have here. People do over and above what their title says. So I just want to make sure that apples and oranges and that type of thing.
If I may, through the chair, the payroll coordinator has its own job description now. The position is a replacement of the old accounting group leader. As time has gone on, as Ms. Baxter has been with the city for a number of months now, we've been adding, I shouldn't say we, working through Bob, been able to add a few more activities to her duties and help us out. Again, there isn't a whole lot of staff here in the backside to administratively help. So she's been helping pick up some of those tasks that Michelle used to be doing. The difference in pay when we brought her on board was Michelle was making $51,000. We dropped it down to $45,000, trying to do the right thing for the city at that time. We did not have a study at that point to look at, and if we were at that positions rate, we wouldn't be at this now. I think she'd be overpaid for what we're currently doing now.
Right.
So I think this is right. This is the right. This kind of right sizes that type of work.
Other comments by council?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Timberland doesn't want to speak. Go ahead.
Well, I notice how here in the city, now we're gonna raise two people's pay, and then I went through the entire packet, our police chief, our fire chief, our officers, our new hire officers, our fire, nobody is paid the right amount. So we're gonna start with these two tonight, and we'll end up with everybody getting a raise, because according to that packet I received, everybody is paid low. So I just, I don't think they didn't ask for a raise. We came up with this on our own. I didn't see anything come across where they asked to be paid more money. That's it.
Before I call a vote, I make one more comment. Michelle had this job before, and I went through all the sites that have left here, and you have to say, yes, maybe we weren't as warm and fuzzy as we should have been with our employees, that maybe they left for that reason. But it seems to me what I've heard is most of them have left because they could get more money somewhere else. Michelle left for that very reason.
Yeah, I think she ended up getting a $15,000 pay increase to go to another community.
And, and some communities are going to hire our people away. If we do a good job training them, there's just a certain level, given the revenues that we can have in the city, that are going to limit how we can compensate our employees. The assessor that we lost went to Grand Rapids. She had no employees working for her here. She got 3 there and got something like a $40,000 raise. Elm Park was never going to pay an assessor $110,000. Now, having said that, we have a 2-day-a-week assessor we're paying $85,000. That represents 11 communities now, because there's only 100 certified assessors in the whole state of Michigan. So these are just things that are out there.
He's getting paid that amount from every community?
Well, I don't know what he's getting paid for
Oh,
every
I'm just
committee.
saying, that's what we're paying?
That's the contract we have with them.
Okay. I
So,
went to the wrong line of business.
no.
I'll take that test.
I'm gonna.
And remember, that assessor that we had here came in 2002 and did not have a pay raise ever. And when this prior mayor and council in 2011 came in, we gave her a $3,200 bill for insurance to pay. And so she really suffered a $3,200 loss after working here for 13 years. And she saved the city a lot of money. She did a lot of the work that normally would have had to hire attorneys for in the tax tribunal. But circumstances are what they are, and you do what you can do. If there are no other, I'm going to call for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
A, whatever the sign is.
Okay, we're going to have an A and nay count here.
You want a roll call?
Please,
Okey-doke.
Deputy Clerk.
Councilman Templin.
Yes.
Councilman Cisco.
No.
Councilman DeGiulio.
No.
Councilwoman Gavarecki.
Yes.
Councilman Rorick.
No.
Mayor Pro Tem McLeod.
Yes.
Mayor Matakis.
Yes.
The yeses have it. Motion passes.
Before we move on,
Yes.
just if
Councilwoman
you could
Gavricki.
clarify, I mean, I know he asked for it to be removed. Could you please explain how that's going to be handled?
I'll talk to Pat and see how he wants to go about, I don't know if he's looking for a review by the entire mayor and council,
Okay.
which is, can be a request of the employee.
So he'll meet with you first and then?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I'm thinking that going this way, not to cause any issues going forth, but that may also include a visit before the Human Resource Committee as well.
Okay.
Mayor, one comment on that? No? The one being removed?
Yeah,
Thank you. Why do you ask to be removed? I
that's what he
mean,
just said.
Well, explain to me again. I'm a barber and I'm old. Please.
That's okay. He requested to have a review, and I'll talk to Pat to figure out how he wants that review, if it's gonna be before the entire council, which at that point in time can be requested to be done in closed session, or if he'll be looking to have a review of the HR committee, somewhere along the line, the HR committee will be involved.
So we could actually reduce it then by the time he gets there. So he's not happy with getting the 2.5%, correct? Is that what we're saying?
No, yeah, well, I think he was looking for something different, closer to what is a budget.
A little more
amount of money.
substantial?
Yeah. And he's done a great job. I definitely would
He
defend him on
does.
that.
He does a
great
fine job. I mean, they all do. I mean, you know, Deb there, I do a fine job, and I still voted against myself getting any money, so. All right, thank you.
Item 2 is the award of the bid for the CDBG concrete replacement. The city administrator, please.
Hopefully this is a little less controversial. We opened bids on March 1st for the 2016 Allen Park CDBG projects. The project will involve concrete street sectioning and replacement in the following areas, or the following streets. We're looking at Michigan Boulevard, LeBlanc Avenue, Ford Avenue, Kennebec Avenue, Ford Lane Road, and Roger Avenue. These are in the qualified areas that block grant is eligible to be spent in. We had a total of 9 bidders for the projects. Very good to see so many bidders, and I think we had the same for the other projects as well. We attached a copy of the bid tabulation for your review. Based on the lowest bid received, is my recommendation, as well as Buccelli, Buccelli LLC, to award the 2016 Allen Park CDBG project to Savoni Cement in the amount of $76,865. Funding will come from the Community Development Block Grant Fund, with the distribution being from account 101-221-976000, again in the amount of $76,865.
Need a motion on that to accept?
Yes.
Motion to accept.
Support.
Councilman DeGiulio is moved, supported by Councilwoman Gavricki.
Yes.
Just a quick question. This is the block grant money, correct?
Correct.
So it's not the street money?
This is strictly has to be
Got
used
it.
in the eligible areas, which are the far south end, and then the corridor adjacent from, I think Roger Street is the borderline to the Allen Park, Lincoln Park border, north to around Morris Street, from Southfield to Morris.
Morris?
Roughly that area.
Right.
Question?
Yeah.
Was this using up all the money, or is there monies left over?
This will use up all of the program year 15 money. There's a 150103K, that's the code number for that. There's around $83,000 left in that account. This will take care of the remainder of that amount, plus the administration to have it inspected. We are looking, if Wayne County, and that's a big if, Wayne County gets us the contract back close to July 1, we'll go back out, try to come back here, ask to go back out to bid again, and try to award the rest of that for the remainder of 15 in the construction season. And we have tentatively scheduled to receive around $108,000 for that. And again, it would be in the same areas. The goal would be to get in to the south end, completely get that one all completed with the street sectioning, and then work on Roger Avenue. And Roger Avenue, we're working on the intersections.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. The next one is the pavement replacement project, low qualified bidders, GV Cement Contracting Company. City Administrator?
This one, we opened March 2nd. We had 6 bidders for this project. This will involve the concrete replacement of Garfield Avenue, Shenandoah Avenue, Niver Avenue, and Kolb Avenue. The selected portions that were part of the millage that was approved by the voters back in November of 2015. CE Raines, the city engineer, prepared a bid tabulation, and actually we have Matt Hickman here from CE Raines. And based on the bids received, the recommendation from CE Raines and myself would be to award the pavement replacement project to GV Cement Contracting Company Incorporated in the amount of $2,974,333.50. Funding for this project will come from the street millage that was approved back in November. The distribution will come from accounts, we had an error on that one, I made a mistake. It'll come from account number 203-479-801-200. That'll be for $2,597,607.50. And account 202-479-801-205 in the amount of $376,726. So it's a 202 and a 203 account, not a 202 completely. I asked Matt Hickman from the engineer's office to attend tonight. This is a large sum of money being awarded. This is a project that we know that we have to do our very best on. This is the first step in trying to rebuild the trust back with the residents that we know we have to build. We mentioned that at the meetings that we were asking the voters to approve this millage. And so I think the question that came from Mr. Brooks involving quality, if you can answer that at this point in time. And again, I think that Matt will be able to tell you, I think quality is going to be the key. We're looking at that because of the fact that we need to make sure that the trust is built with the residents, and this is the project to do that.
Good evening. As Mr. Kibbe mentioned, I am Matt Hickman with the CE Raines Company representing the city engineer. The question asked earlier regarding the concrete quality control for this project. We have a registered and state certified testing firm on staff that will be testing the density of the subgrade as well as the concrete that's being placed on each roadway in accordance with city, state, and MDOT requirements. I'm sorry, city, county, and MDOT requirements. We also ensure we have a field supervisor on staff that will ensure their testing methods are in accordance with requirements as well. We ensure that test cylinders are made of all concrete placed on each street and destructively test them to ensure that the concrete placed is in accordance with what was required.
Also through the chair, the project timeline here, again, will be going, pending approval tonight, will go before our tab on April 6th, and then they'll be able to start from that point in time. The residents will be notified. I think we'll have either Raines or Buccelli will be out working with the residents. This portion of the project requires a road machine. So they will be doing half the road at a time. That is going to require disruption of people's driveways in the affected areas for a period of time, but we'll try to minimize that. It's going to be a few weeks, there's no doubt about it, and that's weather permitting, allowing us to get everything done at that point in time. But we will be working with the residents to find out who has medical needs that we need to work around and so forth on those. The other issue that's going to come about is because of the road machine. The road machine gives us the best quality project. It gives you the smoothest surface. It reduces the
curvature.
Thank you, curvature. Yeah. Special name, curvature. It'll help us a lot to get a better surface on there. The problem I know on Garfield that we have is it's flat. There is not a whole lot of level there to get the water transitioning there to the to the gutters and then into the storm sewers. So they'll be working on that. That's going to be a delicate process to make sure everything's going to drain properly. And I think this one, most of these roads also include some storm sewer reconstruction as well. So that we looked at that. We mentioned that when we were talking to the residents back in September and October, that we would look at the storm sewers, we look at the sanitary sewers, we're going to look at the water mains. I think we're okay on water mains for all 4 of these streets right now. The sewers, we're going to be replacing a number of lineal feet of that, and I think we're also looking at lining a couple main sections as well. So last thing we want to do is have the underground start deteriorating and causing the surface to deteriorate, so.
That's correct. New drainage measures have been incorporated into this project to ensure that doesn't happen in the near future.
Now, has Liqueforce been through those streets? I mean, have they sealed and?
Well,
They cambered all the lines already in the streets.
So, I mean, those streets that we're gonna do, they've already been through there and lined those sewers?
Not lined. They've been inspected with a camera, and then all those reports were turned over to the regs.
Okay.
So
Because I know years back, they were also lining a lot in that area.
Right, these will be replacements. I think a number of them are replacement. I think there's a large portion that is going to get realigned, is that, trying to be cost effective
Correct.
with the numbers here.
I mean, I just want to make sure we're not undoing what they did 6, 7 years ago, when they were there.
Just on that note too, you're gonna see orange X's on a lot of the trees down Garfield, Niver, Shenandoah. These came from the engineer department. They're marked to take down. Contractors already looked at them, got the prices on them. Because of the machine you were talking about has to make its way down the curb, so some of the homeowners are gonna notice X's on the trees. They will be notified by letter I'll have out probably the next couple days why it's coming down, but it's for the construction.
How about fire hydrants?
I think they were back far enough because I think.
They're further back
Yeah,
than the trees?
Yeah, they're back far enough.
Yeah, they will remain intact.
So it's gonna be one whole street going all the way, being done at the same time, right? Not half and half?
No, they'll do half and half.
They will do
So
one
there'll still
street at a
be- there will
time,
still be
part width at a
access.
time.
Part of it at a time, yeah. The entire street's gonna be done?
Well,
They're gonna
with
do
the
one
equipment
section.
you're talking about, I thought it was gonna, the whole street all the way down. You're saying half.
No,
and
it's
half.
just a half.
That's correct.
So, fire department's well aware of that, and during the pre-bid or pre-construction, fire department and police department will both be involved to make sure that they're aware of all the, how the process is gonna go. In fact, I think it was, Chief LaFawn was mentioning, previous type of projects like this, they were notified on a daily basis, which I think we can incorporate to allow, the chiefs, to let their departments both know what's going on.
I have a question.
Any other questions, Mr. Hickman?
Go ahead, Harry.
All right.
Councilman Cisco?
Thank you. I just wanted to know one thing. In the past few years, we've had work done on broken water mains and things like that, and repair work was done to the cement. And some of it wasn't done properly. There were some driveways that were reduced in radius, and we had some driveways that, due to some other issues, got cracked, approaches, I should say. As we take this machine down the street, and it's gonna go by the approaches, and you're gonna have to take out that part that leads up to the approach, correct?
That's correct.
What do you have in place to assure the residents that their approaches will be looked after, and where they don't have to come to City Hall and say, I've got a problem with my approach, and then wait 2 years for it to get fixed, which has happened recently? I really don't want to see that happen, but I'm assuming that there might be some kind of checklist that you might have.
Certainly. I can't speak to the quality of work that was constructed without our supervision or without on-site inspection. And I can assure you that the project will be under close supervision with a on-site inspector, as well as a field supervisor that oversees the inspector on a daily basis, that no work will be done without on-site inspection during the course of this project.
So once you lay everything down, everything hardens, everything can be driven upon, do you go back and check after is there a time period, 30 days after the road's been driven on, or thereafter? Is there a check that you do during an X amount of time?
Certainly. So after the placement of the concrete, there can be test cylinders broken from a period from 3 to 28 days to determine the compressive strength, that the compressive strength of the concrete is sufficient to operate vehicular traffic on. That will be done that also by our testing firm. And to answer your question about the driveways, there is a unit price in the contract that is specifically for removal and replacement of the residential driveways.
So if some part of the residential approach is damaged, we're going to replace that?
That's correct.
And who decides that?
All driveways under the construction influence area will be removed and replaced as the construction occurs down the street.
Okay.
Any other questions by council?
I just had.
Councilwoman Gavricki.
Oh, I just had one. And so I know earlier you read off the two accounts. So I guess just for my purpose, and maybe I don't know, the one major account where the $2 million is coming from is the account that was collected from the taxes? And the other account where the $376,000 is coming from is which account?
The 203 account is the local roads, and the 202 is major roads. A portion of Garfield from Park Avenue to Allen Road is a major road, and that's classified through the state of Michigan. You have major and local.
All right.
So we get different funding for that, so we were able to take some of our funding that we received from the state to apply towards this project.
Okay. Thank you.
It's Bob's magic wand being waved.
Oh, I like Bob's magic wand.
I do too.
So, thanks, Bob.
He's an expert at that.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. Thank you.
Any other questions by council?
Just a couple of quick questions. One, is there an approximate size, or is there a size that the approach has to be at the street, and what the size is at the sidewalk?
Size, are you asking cross-section?
No, I mean, just the width. I mean, like, is it 10 feet? I mean, do you have?
Oh, okay.
Do you replace it exactly as it was?
In kind is the phrase I
Yeah,
like to
I-
use.
I'm
Remove and
like saying-
replaced in kind to the extent of the city right-of-way. So no work will be done on the private property of the resident.
I had a fellow on 14,000 block of Oceana. He got a hold of me, and I went out to his house there, and his driveway was about 2 feet short at the street. He couldn't even back up his pickup truck into the driveway like that. And so you don't really have a size, but you're gonna make it exactly what they had before.
That's
Exactly
correct.
what they had before. Okay, thank you very much.
If I may, to caution Mayor and Council, ancillary sidewalks that lead from the main sidewalk to the street will not be replaced, though.
No, this is the driveway approach from the sidewalk to
Driveways
the
will
street.
be approached, but if
Yeah.
there's an ancillary sidewalk, it will not be replaced.
So,
That's correct.
okay, so that's someone that has a sidewalk going from their sidewalk to the street.
In some cases, they may have
And-
had that for a garbage can or.
We refer to that as a
anything like
T-walk.
Ah, okay.
The T-walks will be removed and not replaced.
Thank you.
Any other questions
else?
by council? I'm going to ask for the motion then for the contract to be awarded to GV Cement Contracting Company in the amount of $2,974,333.50.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Templin, supported by, forgive me, who was the second?
Cisco.
Councilman
Mr.
Cisco.
Cisco.
Are there any further questions by council? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That's carried. Thank you. Fourth item on resolution.
Can I jump in right there? Mr. McGusson had a question about the amount. We're looking at roughly, right now, we've awarded about $3,050,000, if my math is correct. The street section, I think, is roughly another $500,000 thereabouts. So we're looking about $3.5 million total this year.
We now go on to item 4, the DTE Street Lighting Replacement Program.
This one here, credit defined work of the finance director, Bob Cady. We had applied for the Distressed Cities Grant to cover for the streetlight project, our streetlight replacement project, and this would replace all the streetlights in the city with LEDs. Unfortunately, as we know, that was not awarded. So Bob contacted Deborah Kane from DT, and Bob worked with her to look at the replacement of the highest cost streetlights that bring the highest value to the residents of the city. DT offered some labor incentives and equipment rebates that we could provide with the city with a payback. And I have a new updated sheet at the table for you of 1.5 years. And there's a total of 7 projects for 205 lights. This will provide the city with a city streetlight budget, a savings of $56,696.48 per year. Bob had attached some spreadsheets there for your review. 184 of the 400-watt mercury vapor lights and some high-pressure sodium streetlights will be replaced. These are definitely the highest cost per month of the streetlights that we have. They line Southfield Road, Oakwood Boulevard, Fairlane Drive, Roosevelt, Garfield, and Pelham Roads. Another 21 lights will be replaced in Champaign Park, Cunningham Park, and Moore Park. Those replacements will all be with 135-watt high-efficient LEDs, and the parks will be with 65-watt LEDs. The total cost of this labor and equipment rebates is $89,935. $84,935, which will be included as part of the 16-17 annual budget. And because of the timing it takes, we're actually asking to have this approved now so we can give DT authorization to move forward with their lead times so they can get this project on the summer replacement schedule. But nothing will be incurred until after the 2016-17 budget starts on July 1. I think, and the change that we had that is before you on the sheet that was left at the table was a $5,000 reduction in the net cost from DT on the work portion.
Just to follow up, as Mark mentioned, that this was a very good project, and we were hoping to get funding through the Distressed Cities Grant, which didn't happen, as you all know. So we took a look at, I went back to the spreadsheet that we got from the whole project, and I said, geez, there's still a lot of savings here if we just go after the highest burners. Some of these lights cost the city $300 a month to burn, and replacing them cuts the cost almost to 50% on some of them. This would replace about 15% of the streetlights in the city in the most highly visible in traffic areas. It also provides a much cleaner light for crime and those kinds of things. We're reviewing, and police approves of this. We hope to take this savings and roll it every year, and eventually, we think in about 5 or 6 years, we'll be able to replace all the streetlights in the city at a substantial savings to the city and the residents.
Any question of
No,
the
I'll make a motion.
financial director? Councilman Cisco.
Do-
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, do we have to have a motion and a support for discussion, or you just?
Well, you guys
Got
had
it.
already started the discussion.
Okay, you're in charge.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
So my question is about LED lighting. I've noticed that along Ecorse Road, it's all LED lighting. Am I reading that correctly?
They'll all be replaced with LEDs. Most of them will be replaced with the, I believe it's the 163 watt, is it, Mark?
Yeah, Ecorse Road already is LED at 150 watt.
100, yeah.
It already is. So we're replacing those that we have?
No. Did you get a map with the highlighted areas? Yeah, the yellow is
I'm
where
looking
we're
at it.
doing it. And it lists them from where to where on the spreadsheet.
If there are no other questions of the CFO, I would ask for a motion to place the matter before council.
I'll make a motion.
I'll support.
Councilman Rourke has moved. Did you support it? I'm sorry. Councilwoman Galletti?
Sorry.
All right. Any further discussion by council? I hear and see none. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
I have some extra maps. I'll leave them on the table if anybody here wants to see them.
Final piece of business tonight is the third and final reading of ordinance number 2206. Ordinance to amend Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards, Committees, and Authorities, Division 10, Historical Commission, modify to assist 10 members. And I would like a motion to have the third and final reading before I open it to public hearing.
Motion.
Support.
Motion by Councilman Rourke, supported by Councilman DeGiulio for the third and final reading. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, would the attorney please do the third and final reading for us?
Proposed ordinance number 02-2016, an ordinance of City of Allen Park, Code of Ordinances, amending Chapter 2, Administration, Article 5, Boards, Commissions, Committees, and Authorities, Division 10, Historic Commission by amendment of Section 2-541, created composition to amend from 8 to 10 commission members.
All right, I'll open this for public hearing. Would any citizens want to come forward and comment?
Hi, Nancy Nick, Cleveland Avenue. I just have a couple questions. I'm on the commission. I'm just wondering what the reasoning is to move it from 8 to 10, and also why an even number and not an odd number. I know we had 8, which was an even number before, and I don't know how we got from 7 to 8, because we had 7, and then it went to 8.
The one commissioner will be the director, but is not a voting member, and I don't think was voting now. So even with 8, you only had 7 voting members if all 7 showed up. So if there are 10 on the council or commission, one of them being the director will not be a voting member of the commission. So is there there'll be an odd number of voters if everyone is there, obviously. The second thing was, it was just an attempt to get additional volunteers to come forward to help. You know the last fundraiser, because you struggled mightily with it, and it had to be canceled just because we couldn't get enough help and really get enough, for whatever reason, and it just seemed that it made sense to try and add more persons to help this commission. In addition, the city administrator has revised this so that now, as a director and as standing, you will have, even though it's a very modest budget, you will have for the first time that I'm aware of, an actual budget from which the general fund will be supporting the historical commission, so that there's some way to plan some of the repairs and maintenance that has to be done. It's a historical building, and we know that every year there's something that needs to be done in its maintenance, or to maintain it or improve it, or whatever is deemed possible. So it was for those reasons.
And then will our director get that budget so she can pass that on to us?
Yes, you will have to adopt items as to how to use that budget. There are certain things, obviously, I think that the city administrator is going to expect, but and I think she will be talking with him about that. And she will, I think, for the first time, am I right, Mr. Administrator, be attending all the weekly reviews. She will, and that's something new, that all the directors will be involved. And so other departments that maybe can help will hear when issues come up there, and maybe make things run a little more smoothly and a little easier for that commission. So that's the whole purpose of what we're doing.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Ray McGusson, concerned citizen of Allen Park. Mr. Mayor, City Council, you have a historical commission. It's in its charter. Why weren't they informed about this? Why weren't they not asked about this? They didn't even know this was happening. I was at the last couple meetings. No one knew this was happening. They weren't asked. city council. We have a charter. Please follow it. It's a good idea, Mayor. I go along with it. But they weren't involved. They weren't even asked. You didn't have a workshop meeting and says, hey, Historical Commission, we're planning to do this. Please attend and let's go over this. They were totally in the dark. I brought it up to some of them. They accused me of knowing more than they did. I wonder how I knew. You must stop this. Follow the rules. Please. It's a good idea. They're great ideas. But at least give them the respect of having a commission. Good idea or not a good idea. I don't understand it. You have 8 people involved in this commission. Not one of them was even asked about it. Why? Why weren't they asked? It's a great idea. But please, you have a city charter. I'll repeat myself. Follow it. You have rules. Follow the rules. Yes or no. You're voting on things that you guys, I don't understand this no more. I really don't. Really and truly, look at your faces. They weren't even involved.
I'm
Mayor, I
going
understand.
to speak when you stop.
Okay.
But you tell me when you stop, because
Okay.
you keep stopping for a long time.
Well,
I don't know
no,
if that's dramatic
I
effect
can
or
take
not.
a breath. I believe, Mayor, I can take a breath. Okay, so I will give you the opportunity now to answer my very concerned question.
2012, the director of the Historical Commission was notified and asked about increasing her commission's numbers. Discussed it, told her what the thinking was. There were no problems. We put it on the 2013 agenda. We had first and second readings. Public was informed. People were noticed. The emergency manager said, you won't do it. You will not put any commissioners on. I reserve the right to appoint all commissioners. At that point, we had to stop. We came up, there's a new council, and so we put the item back up as the first opportunity to do that. We had the first and second reading a month ago. There was a notice. I have talked with the director. Again, no opposition was expressed, reasoning for what was being done. Worked hard with the city administrator to finally get a budget. The person who was most responsible as an elected official to put that in place would never give it a budget. And it had struggled mightily, and I think it is a very necessary commission and activity for this city to have. It serves business functions because it has to do reports for businesses on historical purposes, as well as giving citizens a sense of the history of our community. So I think people were reasonably well informed. If it didn't catch their attention, I don't know what else. I have a certain limited number of hours in a day. I can't go and call everybody up individually and say, did you see the first and second readings? Did you talk to the director? Did the director talk to her commission? I don't know those things. I know some of them knew about it. Whether it registered that it was coming to a vote, I can't tell you that. But I did talk with the director again as late as this afternoon. So.
Well, thank you. the last meeting, I brought it up and told you, informed the city council that the historical commission did not know anything about this. Thank you very much.
Yeah, the citizens wish to come forward and, Mr. Hickman, did you want to leave? You can go while the citizens are there if you'd like. I don't think we can recall you for any reason, unless you want to fix that building for us. Then you'll have to see the administrator. Okay, have a good evening. Any other citizens want to come forward for the public hearing?
Sharon Broglin, Director of the Allen Park Historical Museum. I would like to thank you, the administration, for considering us for a new budget. Our budget was taken away from us about 12 years ago. We've been self-sufficient since then, good times and bad times. We've maintained the house. I've maintained the house. We have good opinions of us and bad. And I did not know, today was the day, but I knew it was coming up. And actually, I probably should be the first one to know, even before the commission, that we're having this. But we're doing fine. We probably will get some new commissioners and hopefully move on with our house. For all of you that are not familiar with our house, it's not just a building sitting on the corner of Park and Inglewood. It is the storehouse of all the history that remains in this city. We do research for development companies. There's laws in this country regarding historical digs. Every time something is done here, I have to provide proof that that's not an Indian burial ground, cemetery, whatever. We provide genealogical research for the people in this town and surrounding towns. We belong to the national and the state historical museums. We are a lot more than you think. We cooperate with the state of Michigan's education. Every year, a different grade is chosen for research on the community. I supply schools with talks on the history of Allen Park, which is part of the state's mandate for education. And we provide tours. We open different hours. We're only open one day right now because commissioners are volunteers and they're not always reliable. So we found out years ago that it was better to leave one day open for sure and have Betty comes and she's opened the house for years for us since we had it. The house was purchased in 2001 by the city of Allen Park. Some of you were on the council at that time, I think. Maybe Kevin was. It's not just sitting there. It's actually an 1888 farmhouse. Some of you don't even know that. Some of you have never been there. So come and visit us. And if you know anybody that wants to supply a new roof for the museum, send them our way. We're looking pretty bad. Lynn Kettlehut walked by and he said, Sharon, you need a new roof. I said, I know that. So that's what I'm saying. And I thank the supporters here on the commission, or the council, I'm sorry, and the mayor. And it's been rough times. We've laid low because our museum was one of the projected buildings to be shut down to save money for this city. So you don't go out in the public and broadcast everything when you want to keep your museum open. And actually, they bought that house. Some people might have objected, but we were the only city in the downriver area that did not have a historical building, if you can believe that. And so now we do, and we have to protect it. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gardner. Any other citizens wish to come forward? I'm going to close the public hearing at this time, and I would ask for a motion to approve the ordinance.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Cisco. Second by Mayor Pro Tem McLeod. Is there any discussion by council?
I'd like to just know, why are we going to 10 exactly? What's the reason we're going from 8 to 10?
Well, we'll end up with 9 voting members. Usually you'll try and keep an odd number.
We
if you
had
have
7.
100%.
We had 7 before, which
Well,
was
we had
odd.
8, but
Well, one was a non-voting
But
member,
the
correct?
director is included as a person on the commission.
So-
Just, it does not have that voting right by our
What's-
charter.
What's the reason we're going up 1 or 2?
It's an attempt to get more people to help them and potentially, as she said, getting volunteers. It's a very limited time. We're only open Wednesday afternoons. There are people that maybe would come on the weekends.
So
But maybe we'll have more with the new volunteers that we can extend dates so that we might have Sunday afternoons or Saturday afternoons, whatever the commission would extend. But that would be doubling their hours, and hopefully the new people.
We have 7 non-worker bees, and if we get 2 more, we're hoping for 2 worker bees. Am I right on that one?
No.
I'm not.
Well, you're
We need some
you're
worker bees.
accusing volunteers of not being workers. and
Well,
I'm
obviously,
not gonna agree to that.
Excuse me, but there's a lot of commotion coming from the audience here too, and I'd ask if you're, please,
Okay, please.
Keep your comments.
You know,
I mean, why are we going to 10 when 8 is sufficient? I
well,
don't,
it isn't sufficient, and that, the last time they tried to have a fundraiser, they were short of people working on it, and the fundraiser had to be canceled.
well, then why don't we go to 12 or 15 or 30?
Well, you've not yet sent me one person that I can put on a commission, Mr.
I
Dugan.
did, I sent you my daughter and you refused her. Now, you don't want me to tell the reason you refused her, do you?
I don't think you want to go into that.
I don't mind.
yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other comments by council?
Yes,
Oh,
real quick. All I have to say is that if you're a commissioner and you're not happy about being on that commission, then get off of it. Thank you.
okay. I'll ask for the vote. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Carried with 1 no, Councilman DiGiulio. We are now at closed session. We have none scheduled, and I'm just going to give council a chance for closing comments. If anyone wants to,
I'll start. 'Cause
Councilman
Thank
Rowe.
everybody for coming out, and thank you for all the discussion today. Today's was in my eyes, very good discussion with this council and with the comments that have been shared. A lot of valid points, a lot of research needs to be done at a lot of these types of things, which is great. And I just want to end it with a happy 14th anniversary to Liberati's, since I've been driving down the Allen Road all the time seeing that sign. Today's the 15th. So Frank, I know you're up in Lansing, but happy anniversary to you. And everybody drive safe. Thanks.
Just like to thank Mr. Mazak for a nice presentation. Looking forward to the Allen Park Civic Fund to hear more about it.
Councilman Cisco.
Yeah, I do like to thank Sharon Broglin for all the work that she's done at the Historical Museum. You know, she actually absolutely cares about Allen Park. She does a lot of work that nobody knows about, that she does on her own, doesn't boast about it. She just goes about and does it. She's trying to keep that house in order with no money. So I'd like to thank her and all her efforts. And don't forget, she's sort of had that name on that book, Sharon, History of Allen Park, that you can find at the Historical Museum, I believe, and at Barnes and Nobles. So that book is available, and you can read about the history of Allen Park. Sharon Broglin had a lot of input into that. So I'd like to thank you once again for all your work. And I just want to be able to say one other thing is that You know, I started serving a term in November of 2011, and here we are, March in 2016. And we still have some same problems that still exist. And one of the things, and along with some of my fellow former council member and some of the current ones, is we have an ordinance problem in this city. And it's the same problem. And I'm not sure what's going on, but I think, you know, some of these ordinance things fall on department heads. And I'd like to know why some of these things aren't getting done. And for those in our administration, they know I've talked about this for a long time. And I'm tired of talking about it. I'd like to get some things done. You know, over the past number of months, I've had a lot of phone calls from residents, and one of the things that we talk about is the value of our city, the value of our homes. One of the reasons why which is fairly obvious about getting the street millage passed, is to raise the value of our homes, to raise everybody's values, so we can have a better community. But we have businesses that aren't following our ordinances. They get ticketed, sometimes they get thrown out of court, and then it's sort of forgotten about. There's no staying power there. On a daily basis, we have some business auto-related that are parking on our streets, on our sidewalks, I should say. We have some that are blocking traffic. We have some that are parking their vehicles on grass, which is an ordinance violation. You have to park on a hard surface. Now, if you, as a resident, were parked across the sidewalk, you would get a ticket. That's just the way it goes. On garbage day, if you're parked across the sidewalk, you get a ticket. But at the same time, we're letting businesses not be held accountable for these same kind of transactions. And I just think we need to have something done about that. And I don't know where to go with this anymore. We've had meetings about it with department heads and kind of gone somewhere and then nowhere. So I really don't like to air this kind of laundry in front of everybody, but I don't know where to go anymore. So I'm hoping that by me saying this in public, that it spurs some things to happen, that we start cleaning up our streets, our businesses, to make Allen Park look better. And I thank everybody for coming tonight. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Just want to thank all of you for coming out tonight, and looking forward to hearing more from the Allen Park Citizen Civic Fund organization. As all of you know, I was on the advisory committee and took part in the visioning process, and very glad to know that it is alive and well, and that you will continue to be heard. And hopefully we can help many of the city's organizations as well. Thank you, and have a very good evening.
I'm just saying good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Gracie.
Good night, Chuck. And good night.
Kind of lost my train of thought, but on volunteers, on these commissions, you know, we have 16 commissions, boards, and authorities, and need approximately 116 people to serve on them. They meet, some at the call of the chair, some have regular meetings, some meet semi-regularly, but they play a big part in helping our city, and it is a problem to find people. Young people with families have a hard time, many of them both working, so many of these meetings do take place at night. That's just not very available. But I urge the citizens out here who hear me tonight, if they're interested, I am looking for people for our planning commission. I'm looking for people for this housing commission now. I'm looking for, I'm trying to think of one other commission that we talked about. What? Historical, yes. And then speaking of the visioning committee materials, and a number of the things actually have been put in place by the city, as I think we spoke last year, or the prior mayor and council. But right now, we are updating our master plan, and many of those materials will find their way into the master plan, and the Planning Commission is one of those organizations that's integral in getting the city's master plan. And it is an absolute necessity that it be kept current in order for certain larger grants to be available to us. So there are many things to be done, and it's a lot easier if there are many hands to do it. So if you can find your way to help out, most of the time you don't meet more than once a month. So it is one evening and it is a couple hours, but it's a chance to meet other residents and gain some new knowledge of your city and give back to it. So with that, I'll ask for adjournment.
Motion there, Mayor.
Councilman DeGiulio's moved. Do I have a second?
Support.
Supported by Councilman Rourke. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are carried and closed at 7:52.